favorite people, welcome to PM Personality Profile. My guest tonight is a former managing director at the Graphic Communications Group, former chief operating officer at the Multimedia Group, convener for the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, currently the CEO of the Ghana Telecommunications Chamber, Engineer Dr. Kenneth Edem Ashigbey, my guest tonight. Good to see you.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
How are you doing?
Blessed by the grace of God.
Are you a chief?
You see, my grandmother gave me the name Togby.
Okay.
You know, so anybody who calls me Togby then knows my beginning. So I've been called Togby since a kid. So I think, well, you can call me a chief of my, you know,
your little village.
My little town, my little one, you know, my mother, my father, my children.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, great. Your name sounds like Evers, Ogadangwe.
I'm an Ever.
Okay, complete
I'm an Anglo,
one.
a thoroughbred
Wow.
Anglo. My mother comes, okay, my father comes from Chame. That is his father, and his mother comes from Chame. My mother's father comes from Asadame, and the mother comes from Chame.
Okay.
And Asadame and Chame are twin cities in the Kata district. But in terms of clan, I am an Ame, and the Ames, we come from Alakble.
Okay.
You know, so I'm a thoroughbred Anglo man.
You are a full-blown Nyabro.
Completely. Yes.
F1.
But you know the interesting thing, when I go to, so from the Volta region, I'm called Ashigbey. When I come to Accra, where I was born, I'm called Ashite.
Okay.
When I go to the accounts where I relate to, I'm Esibe. You know? So I'm a Ghanaian.
A man of many crowns.
Yes.
But definitely from Anglo.
Oh, from Anglo. Chama Asadame.
Oh, goodness.
Correct.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
goodness me. Oh, interesting. But I was trying to look at your academic profile, and I realized that it has all been maths and science. And you actually did a master's in business administration
and finance.
And even your doctorate degree was in business administration.
Yes, in business administration, looking at corporate governance. I loved maths. I did very well back from school, you know. So, and then also when we're growing up in secondary school, like when you're going to secondary school, fortunately for me, I had parents who challenged us to do the best that we wanted to do. And I was earlier on enthused about medicine, you know, because my mother is a nurse. So I wanted to do medicine, and so went into St. Augustine's College. But then when I got to A levels, I had a very good maths tutor. So I thought that once you got into that class, you're guaranteed, the minimum you're guaranteed was a C, you know, in A levels. So I thought, okay, let me do maths. And when I got to university, I could choose whether to do medicine or to do science, because then with your maths, you still could have done medicine. But then engineering interested me more. So I went into tech, and then I was not able to make electrical engineering first. I got into mechanical engineering, but when I was going to second year, because I did well in first year, I was able to do a migration to electrical engineering.
Whose idea was it? I mean, mom or dad?
My mother, I'm sure my mother would have loved me to have done medicine.
Okay.
My father died when I was 13, so he really did not have much to do with this.
Okay.
And then, so I think it was just, and I would also say that when we're growing up, the level of career guidance was really not that much. So it was based on the things that you knew and the things that you saw, you know, that made me choose engineering. And I also, well, I think my mother would say I had tendencies of destroying things, wanting to open things up to see what
fix it.
You know what I mean? So I think that came naturally to me.
Okay. But so how did you land in the media space?
That's a very interesting story. So when I left KNUST, we had an unfortunate situation where nobody finished public university in 1995. That's when we're supposed to, but all our looters and all of that. So we stayed in school till 96.
Okay.
And so we did the shortest national service post university. And so I went to teach at Cleversec Tech. And then I saw an ad in the papers. They were looking for electrical engineers. And so I applied and I went to Harley Reid, an office, and they did an interview. And then I got employed at Fanel as an electrical engineer. Okay. Great man, Mr. Jangma. He's one of my fathers currently alive. But then I worked there from 96 till 2000. Okay. And then one of my mates back from university, John B., who then was the head of engineering at multimedia, was then going to the States for other opportunities. And then my William Sam, who then used to do a lot of consultancy for multimedia, called me and asked me, Pozo, would you want to do anything about radio? And I said, why not? I thought it was interesting, So I applied, and I was after the interview, I was appointed as Chief Technology Officer for multimedia, the whole group. Then one April morning, Kwesi Chum calls me to his house, and then he asked me, do you want to be general manager of Joy FM? I'd then be there like 3 months.
Okay.
I look at him in the face. In my head, I said, this man should be mad. But in what came out of my mouth, and I'm somebody who loves challenges, I said, why not?
Yes.
So I started acting, and then 2-3 months, I was confirmed. So then I got into, but I've loved radio, as a child. I remember listening to a lot of GBC, down south. It was a program that was done, South African music. Those times it was about the liberation struggle in South Africa, guitar band music, the news, so those things interested me, and I had been listening to Joy FM since it started. And so I think those were some of the things that you would call my passion in terms of creating content, in terms of finding things that are of interest to the audience, and the thing about it is that engineers make the best managers as well. It's undisputed. And so your ability to be analytical and all of that, I brought that to the job. And I was lucky to have had great mentors. Kwesi Chum is still my mentor. I learned under him, and the team I worked with then were a great team, and it helped. I remember in terms of management, Charles Van Dyke, Kwesi Owusu Asari, Nyama Fameye, those were the team that we were running multimedia then, and it was good learning. It was very, very good learning, and there was no looking back. After doing radio, then my Joy Online as well. I left multimedia, went to Liberia for a while to go and play my hands with some marketing business. But the money was good, but it's one of the things that all of us as Ghanaians, we need to be wary of when we start talking about things about war and all of that. When I got to Liberia, it was after the war, but if you look at the scars of the war, the physical scars you could skip, but you could also see the emotional and the soft ones. The moral fiber of the society was broken. There was no respect between children and parents. And I definitely then could not see myself bringing my children up in that environment, though it was good money. And then also, I think then it was Sobel Airlines that was flying in. So the option was giving me to do Monday to Friday and fly back to Ghana and come back, Monday morning. But anytime the flight was landing in Liberia, it was as if I was going to hell and coming back, So
that feeling,
I'm telling you, it was an experience. So that combination of, I don't want to bring my children up in this environment, and also the fact that, the flight in was not too comfortable, I had to run back, So I left that job. And then when I got back into Ghana, one of my friends of blessed memory, Kofi Achampong Amofa, who died and gone. He then had put together a project. It was taking, DSTV was giving content to some TV stations in Ghana, and in exchange they were offering us airtime that we were selling. So we were selling that. So it was called FTA DSTV.
Okay.
And so we got content from them and we're doing that. So I you know, Kwesichum will call me a general sales manager. When I was general manager of Joy FM, I love selling. You know, so I took that and I was selling the airtime. Then one day I got a call from, so Metro TV was one of our major clients where we were getting airtime from and we were selling. So I got a call from the deputy managing director for Metro TV. And he wanted to see me. So I just, no, before then there was an ad in the papers asking for a managing director for a marketing agency. So I applied. It was not named, so I did not know which entity it was. So he called me and he says I had applied for a job. So I was, deputy managing director, what was he calling me about? Apparently the company was OMP, which was a subsidiary of the Village Group that owned Metro TV. So I went, had the, spoke to them, had the interview. Then I was employed as managing director of OMP.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and where there as well, because of the close, we were doing advertising for Metro TV. So there was a close relationship with TV. So that's when I learned, you know, a bit of TV, got involved in it. You know, I remember in Metro TV, one of the things that also interested me from multimedia was coverage of elections. Okay. It was one of the things I did also at Metro TV. So I did all of that. So then I saw multimedia starts multi-TV. So periodically I'll speak to Kwesichum and say, this, we could have done this, we could have done this. Yeah. So by the time I saw it, you know, I'd been drawn back again into multi-TV. So came back to multimedia again as chief operating officer for multi-TV. Very interesting times. You know, well, multi-TV had decided to go and very, you know, take, you know, because of the fact that multimedia was running radio and, you know, radio was very advertising laden. Because of the fact that there was not too many, the frequencies were not really available for free to air, they had opted to go on the DTH, but run it as a free to air and then use advertising. It was a difficult model, really a difficult model. But I think we did some very interesting things. I'm not too sure anybody has moved penetration of boxes as much as multimedia has done. And so we got in there, did some heavy lifting, you know, properties like the Europa Cup was, you know, was blessed by multi-TV. I remember we would do live, you know, public viewing of all of that just to get people to enjoy it, you know, and then at the back of that be able to get sponsorship for that. And, you know, we're running multiple channels. And I say to people that by the time that multiple channel TV would be the thing in Ghana, there's no media house that will come close to multimedia. Because really we cut our teeth doing it the very hard way, being able to make sure that all the channels we had, we got, you know, the viewers interested in them. And I think
that's right.
JoyNews by far is still, you know, if you compare them with all the news channels, is the best news channel probably in Africa. Definitely. You know, probably in Africa. And I think we did, people have followed it through, but we did a good job there. And then I saw an ad again in the papers, you know, so they were looking for managing director for graphic, you know, and this was me, typically Kenneth Ashigbey, very apolitical. You know, I don't belong to any side. Normally, if my friends become politicians, you find me step back from them. So I applied for the job, and I remember there was a lot of talk there that, and this person was from that person, you know, and one of the secrets I tell, then when I applied for I had not told Kwesichum that I had applied for the job. Unfortunately, when the shortlist came, it was published in the Daily Guide, you know, and my name wasn't there. It was quite an interesting time. So again, we went for an interview, and you know, Kenneth Ashigbey, who did not have anybody supporting him, thank God, by the grace of God, you know, we went for that interview and I was chosen. So I became managing director of graphic.
Oh, wow.
So that's been my, you know, my media story.
That also must have been an experience.
Oh, definitely an experience. Because, you know, this is me. I've done private sector all my life. So when I saw the graphic job, I saw it as national service.
Yeah.
An opportunity to go back and serve my nation.
Definitely.
You know, and it's, you know, running a state-owned, when you've come from a public sector, it's quite an interesting experience, and the learnings and the experience you gather, quite great. I think the good thing that helped was the fact that by the very nature of the way state-owned media is structured, you are appointed by the Media Commission. You are not appointed by in consultation with the president, but you know, the president is just consulted, you know, so it's not as if it's so you are not, and then the constitution also insulates you from the control of the political class. So it gave me that independent, it just, you know, and me, I've had that independent streak. You know, I say the things I want to say the way it ought to be said, you know, really not caring, you know, who would be displeased once it's the right thing. So I enjoyed working at graphic. And another thing about graphic is also that the graphic people, the philosophy behind the setup of graphic, from the time of Sir Cecil King to, you know, all to my time, the staff of graphic know the fact that their salaries are paid from the revenues they generate. So the team at graphic are self-driven. It's something you wouldn't see in a lot of state-owned entities. And so they know that it has to be performance-based. And also from the learning, so with the learnings I have had, you know, all the way from Funnel to multimedia to OMP and all of that, it helped in working at graphic. But it was some very interesting 6 years. And I had to resign. So it was 4 years and was renewed for another 4 years. But I had to resign in the second midway because one of my staff, who was then the director for newspapers, who was responsible for editorial content, had then been appointed as the president's representative on the NMC. And as a student of corporate governance, I immediately saw that as there's a conflict right in there. Two conflicts. One, the fact that the Constitution insulates state-owned media from the government. How were we going to have the president's representative also now becoming the person, the vanguard of our content, of our editorial, you know? So
that's sort of like a spy.
Completely. It was an affront to the Constitution. So and then the second one was that in one breath, he is my subordinate, he reports to me. In another breath, when he leaves my office and goes to an NMC meeting, the NMC appoints me. The NMC are the people I report to. So I raised that with him. He is a lawyer, but he did not agree with me. I raised it with my board. My board agreed. They brought it to his attention, but he was not going to leave. You know, so then I had to resign, and so I resigned, stating very clearly what it was. And so that's what truncated, you know, well, brought a pause to my media life. And then by then also the Ghana Chamber of Telecommunications, who had their CEO had then been appointed as the board chairman for the NCA. You know, so definitely that role had become vacant. And I applied for the role, and God being good, again, I went to an interview and I got it.
Quite an interesting journey there. Let me take you back to St. Augustine's.
St. Augustine's
Even
College.
before St. Augustine's, I mean, where did it start for you?
Okay, so I started my nursery at Awudome Day Nursery because I lived in Awudome.
What were you born in Accra?
I was born in Accra. That's why I say
where
I was born. So I was born in Kolebu. My mother says it was Kolebu that I was born. Yes, you know. But I'm sure I would have been made in the Awudome estate. Because that's where my parents were living. So from there, I went to Awudome Day Nursery. From Awudome Day Nursery, I went to Prince of Peace International School, Bubuashi, for my primary school. Did my common entrance, and got into St. Augustine's College from Form 1 to Upper 6.
How was life in St. Augustine's like?
Well, interesting.
As a science student.
As you see, that's an interesting one. Before I went to St. Augustine's College, on the 16th of October, my father had gone to my grandmother's funeral and was returning to come and take me to school.
Okay.
I should have been gone to school on the 14th of October, but on the 16th when he was returning, he had an accident.
Oh,
and
goodness.
died.
Oh,
you know. So what then had happened was then that I went to school with that challenge.
Yeah.
You know, and so Augustine's was a difficult time because it was 83 too as well. That was when there was scarcity of food and all of that. And so it was a difficult time, but it was an interesting time as well because, you know, Augusto was a place that everybody was accepted. You came, there was those from the very rich families, those from the have-nots, but we all mixed together.
Yeah.
And so difficulty with food, but you had teachers who also were supporting. You had my mother, my big sister, all of them supporting. I enjoyed school. I was a complete student. You know, I was in the cadets, you know, so a lot of people who knew me from St. Augustine's thought I was going to
end up in the
army. So a lot of them call me the general, you know. But so I did want that from Form 1 to Upper 6. I was a mass server as well. Also one of the things that kept me grounded. I was a mass server back in St. Teresa's Church in Accra. So when I went to school as a mass server, I then became dining hall prefect.
Okay.
So in terms of leadership, I honed my leadership skills in there. Because in St. Augustine's College, one of the places where you met all the students at once, apart from church, on a daily basis was the dining hall.
Okay.
And to be a dining hall prefect, you needed to be a tough person. You needed to find ways of making sure that discipline was respected in that particular space.
And you had command over the food.
Yes. And you see, the interest, when I go back and I look at myself, I was also quite small, tiny then. I was not as big as I am today, you know, but yes, so I had control over the food, but I needed to make sure everybody also had a fair share of the food they had, you know. So yes, I didn't do too much sports. I remember back in Form 1, we were playing, there was a football game we were playing, I think it was inter-classes. And there was a last penalty kick I was supposed to have kicked for us to have the class to have won. And I shot over the bar.
As someone done of your time.
You see, but I played volleyball. So I was in a volleyball team, and I remember we used to have it triangulars. We would come to Ahmadiyya, we went to Ahmadiyya, we went to Accra Academy to come and do triangular games. Yeah, so volleyball was the only sport I played back in St. Augustine, but seriously.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. So, were you a bad boy? I mean, being...
Was I a bad boy? I think I did a few things that if I'm advising my son today, I'll tell him not to do. I was very adventurous.
Okay.
But then I recognized the fact that the books were the reasons why I was in there. So I got distinction in O levels, you know, and got a good grade also in A levels as well.
Yep.
But I definitely was not a bookworm. I did not like learning too much, so I made sure once I was in the classroom I concentrated. Okay. So I got the best out that I could get from there, and then, you know, would not want to then sit too much to be able to study. I feel, you know, back in school, going to town with our exams, I did a bit of that. So I remember going to town one night with one of my friends, and we crossed the beach. St. Augustine's is a beachfront property.
Yes.
So we crossed the road and we stopped the taxi. There were 3 people sitting in the taxi, the driver and 2 people sitting at the back. It felt odd, but we still joined. So I sat in front and my friend sat at the back. So we got to the hospital, the first entrance to the hospital that leads to the mortuary. Then the taxi driver says, so then we asked, you know what I mean? So apparently that was a corpse, and they were taking the corpse to the morgue. It was such as And I don't know how both of us, me and my friend, jumped out of the car.
You see, I want to collaborate some country to you.
You see, so that's why it's important that the young people, when they say stay in school, stay in school. It was such an experience. It haunted us for a while.
I'm sure since then, you advised yourself, or you still went out.
Let's say we advised ourselves. We advised ourselves. But it's on hindsight, you look back at it, it was not the best of things to do, It's important for us to realize that there's a time for everything. Anything could have happened to us when we're doing all of those
when
things.
your parents thought you were in school.
Exactly. And your teachers thought you were back at school. So those were some of the things that, with hindsight and learning from it, I tell Edem and, those who look up to me today, the younger ones, that, pay attention to your books.
Yeah.
The time will come when wherever you want to go
you can go.
you'll be able to go to.
Definitely. But you talked about how challenged you were before starting school because of your father's death. Did that have an impact on your education?
Well, interestingly, it did not. I remember when it happened, and then one of my aunties had come. The first question I asked was, how was I going to go to school? Yeah. And my auntie said to me, your father is dead. He said, are you going to go to school? But when my mother came back from the village, and I asked her, how am I going to? He said, you go to school. Yeah. So I remember I did not even come for the funeral of my father. Oh. And so my mother made sure that the three of us, myself, Joyce and Nerissa, my little sister, we did not feel the fact that our father was there. Exactly, But then it made me grow early, because what then we then had to do was that we then needed to support our mother. So you had to become the father of the house. So I think my big sister, and I don't know that whether my mother became the father, and then my big sister became the mother. And I think it was my mother still kept being mother. And my big sister, who then, she finished Holy Child, got an opportunity to go for her A-levels, but decided that because of what had happened, she was not going to go to A-level. She went to Archbishop Porter's to do the secretarial training. And then out of that got a job, so could help my mother support us in school. So in terms of going to school, well, we might not have been those that are best, but the love that was in whatever we got to go to school was enough. But in that process, what then it happened to me was that I saw my mother, a nurse, carry charcoal from Carnation and head home. Oh, wow. So who was I again? We all did the same. I sold charcoal. I sold ice cream. There was a friend who was more like a brother, Fred Asante. We'll go to Carnation, go and buy gari, then we'll come and tie them in polythene and sell them. Sugar and garnish. Exactly, and sell them. And those times where we're selling, this ice cream that was in a cup with a stick in it. When you went to take it, you were paid a commission out of what, so you needed to make sure you would sell it, because if it melted, it means you not get anything. So in terms of my salesmanship, I honed that from there. And so I grew early. Immediately that happened, I grew early. So in terms of education generally, I would say in terms of education in life, that accelerated it. But in terms of being impacted, everything I needed from St. Augustine's College to university I got. And I would remember on monthly basis, my sister, my mother, they'll send me money through the university guest house, so I'm sure if you asked a lot of my classmates, they would not point me out as one of those students who were really hustling, but it was difficult. It was for myself. I'm sure if my sister compared her Form 1 to Form 4 days, when my father was alive and it was both parents supporting, compared to her Form 5 and my Form 1 and my sister's, it was a marked change. But our feet were put to the ground. So we realized the fact that this is where we came from. What you wore, all it had to do was I had to be neat. It does not define you. And all you needed to do was to aspire for whatever God has put in you for you to be able to deliver.
So your mom was a nurse. Your
Yes.
Your father was.
My father was an administrator.
Okay.
Yes. His last job, he was working at Insamanko before he died.
Okay.
Yes, but my mother was a nurse. She was a psychiatric nurse, and so she retired as a deputy director of nursing.
Okay, so whilst at school, did it ever cross your mind that you would one day be in the media?
No,
Was it something
I stumbled into the media. It never, by this time, my vision was to have built, when I grew, especially from university, when I started looking at building services engineering, because I did, the interesting thing, I majored in telecommunications,
Okay.
but I did my project work in building services,
Okay.
which is what I started doing. The plan was to build the largest building services engineering firm in West Africa.
Okay.
But unfortunately, when I was doing Joy FM and all of that, I could still run my electrical engineering firm by the side. But when I got to graphic, the aura around the graphic job, I remember that one of the things, the last jobs I had done was doing the electrical works for Barclays. So most of their difficult electrical challenges, I would resolve them for them with my company called Multitask.
Okay.
So when I had left, there was a problem they had in one of their branches. And so the new CEO that had come went to ask, so who was going to solve this problem for us? They said, this one, you have to speak to the boss of Multitask. So he says they should bring him the contact of the boss of Multitask. They brought him, it was Kenneth Ashigbey. They asked, how is he going to call the managing director of graphic to come and solve his problem for him? So you see, so the graphic job robbed me of my ability to be able to run my business. But I say to the young ones, in this our life, it's about multiple streams of income.
Definitely.
And I say that to the glory of God, all the assets I have acquired, I acquired it from this electrical engineering job, what I did myself, not the 8 to 5 I do. So I say to people, let's make sure that the things that are in your hands, the things that you're passionate about, your hobbies and things, how do you commercialize them? How do you use that and provide a service to people? And when you do it to the best of your abilities.
So when you landed in the media, did your mom have any problem with that? I mean, she wanted you to do purely science.
Well, you see, the interesting thing about my mom, I call her Rex now because my father used to call her Rex. Is that she would not impose her will on you, but she would advise you.
Okay.
She would give you the advice. And sometimes, me and the way my mouth says everything that has to be said. So I think those were some of the challenges, she had, that some of these things. But I'll tell
they
her
land
that,
her son into trouble.
you see, but one of her mentors is Kwame Nkrumah, and so I normally will go back to Kwame Nkrumah to speak to her and say, but Kwame Nkrumah, if Kwame Nkrumah had stayed quiet,
would we have
would he have been here,
independence?
So I think she's comfortable with it.
Finally
The thing about it is that my mother prays, because of the fact that we lost our father early, she had to be doing double jobs. So she ran double, so she doesn't know how to sleep. And so when she stopped doing the double jobs, she spends the nights praying. So for me, when you come after me, you are coming after, after her, and her prayers alone is massive shield, for me. And so I think what she then realized is that her son would not change from some of the things she was doing. So what she would rather do is to pray for my protection. Yes.
Oh, interesting. So now from St. Augustine's to KNUST to Leicester University.
Yes.
How was the experience? I mean, compared to all
you see, one of the reasons why I decided to post first degree, I was not going to do anything local, was I was very much involved in student politics. So all the looters and all of that I had done. I don't know whether my mother has said this before.
And so
she bought a time
finally when you grew up, you didn't want to do anything with politics.
Because I have seen a lot of my colleagues who, for the things that we stood for as student politicians, they come out and they are diametrically opposite to the things they do. And I am also somebody who speaks the truth. Damn what would happen. I'm not too sure any of the political parties would, the way we're running our politics today, they would want to, they can't accommodate me, so that's why politics definitely
is a no for you.
So back in school, because of all our looters and the challenges we got in them, I decided, sitting at home for multiple, I said I was not going to do my further studies again in any of the local universities, because if I went back as a postgraduate student and things were happening, I'll still get involved.
Yeah.
So I went to Leicester. Leicester was interesting. Some of the lecturers we worked with, you saw lecturers who, when you look at the things that were happening in the corporate world, they were the people who were lecturing you. So it was quite an interesting experience. And the good thing was the fact that because I was working and doing my MBA as well, you were able to practicalize a lot of the things that you're learning. Take theory and bring it back into practice. Take practice and take it to theory when you're doing. And so interestingly, when I was doing my projects, I did a case study of looking at working capital management using multimedia. Okay. So that's what I've done. And even if you look at my doctorate as well, I took a problem that was in graphic, that was around state-owned enterprises, and decided that I was going to look at how corporate governance impacted the performance of state-run organizations. So I have looked at academia and industry as being few, such that you're able to move things from theory into practice and practice back there. I think it offers for better learning for me as a person.
Oh wow. Engineer Dr. Togby Kenneth Edem Ashigbey, he's my guest tonight, and of course he's a warm person. Having a conversation with him, you know how it will go. But also he has passion to inspire the youth. When I return from this break, he'll be telling us what really drives him to do that. But also, you know that his love for country is out of this world. I've been watching him from afar, and he inspires me a lot. You remember the Galamsey fight? We're still on. When we return from the break, he will also be telling us where we are with the fight against Galamsey. Should we give up all of that after this break? Welcome back to PM Personality Profile. My guest told Engineer Dr. Togby Kenneth Edem Ashigbey, and we'll be having fun on this show. Your passion for the youth, to inspire the youth, is something I admire a lot. What's the driving force?
I think it's one of my purposes on this earth. I think one of the things that God has brought me here to do is to be able to bring out the next generation of African leaders that would rule the world. Okay. I think that our time has come as Africa, and the only way we'll be able to do that is if we empower those who are coming after us, to be able to take up the mantle and follow us. And I'm also a student of apprenticeship. As I said to you, I did not study marketing, neither did I study media or media management, but I've learned it from people. So if you've had the opportunity of serving, from my first boss, Mr. Jangma, who taught me the rudiments of managing an engineering firm, and then you come to people like Kwesi Chum, to a large extent, Talal Fatal, all of them have played a role. And a lot of, if you take my board chairpersons that I've worked with, even at graphics, so from Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman to Professor Mane, all of them have really impacted something to me. And so life is constant learning, and the only way we would also improve is ensuring that we're producing better people who are going to take us over. And if you're not passionate enough about it, then there's not going to be any sustainability. And I think that, and I'm also a believer in the fact that we're made in the image and likeness of God. So there's nobody who is better than we are. So everything others have done, the black race are also able to do it.
Definitely.
We've had difficulties, and the generation before me and my generation, we failed in a lot of places. We cannot allow those ones who are coming after us also to fail. Fortunately, the fourth industrial revolution, the COVID and all of that have offered us an opportunity to be able to leapfrog the development gap that we have. But it would need transgenerational leaders. It would need the young ones being able to take up the mantle of leadership and realizing the fact that now the world is truly a global village, They are impacted by what happens in China, in US, everywhere, but they also can impact the globe as well. So the only way would be able to leave a better Ghana than we met it is to be able to inspire the young ones. And I think that for me, it is a calling.
Recently, we've had to deal with challenges with the young people. I mean, young people murdering their fellow humans for ritual purposes, young people engaged in robberies. Do you see the youth as being prepared to face the world?
There are difficulties that we've had. You see, one of the things that we need to do is that we need to realize the fact that we currently have fourth generational street children. You have people whose great grandparents lived on the street, great grandparents lived on the street, parents lived on the street. The children are also on the street.
True.
So the difficulties that are before all of these children are grave.
Yeah.
And also with the explosion of information, what they are confronted with this time is enormous.
Yeah.
And that's why the media need to realize the power that they hold and the things that we do with that. Some of the things we show on TV, some of these, when we want to show what we call African movie, some of the themes and those things are not us. But we've allowed the stereotypes to work, and they've looked at all of that. So when I was talking about the generation that are on the street, the family system that held us together is completely broken. We've not replaced it with any of the Western social systems. And so because of that, some of these young ones at very young ages are catering from themselves. And that's not to excuse them for some of the things that they're doing. But we should be looking, when all those things we're seeing them, we should be looking ourselves into the mirror and say, what have we done to allow this to happen?
Has the state failed us?
Definitely, I think, beyond even the state, what we as people, have we also failed? Definitely, that's the portion that the state is supposed to have done. And who is the state? The state is me and you and all of us. We are the people who have chosen the leaders that we have. What have been our priorities? Who are the people that we celebrate? In the past, we're celebrating the teachers. We're celebrating hard work. But all of a sudden, we did not care where people were getting their monies from. And it's permeated from, the church all the way to, politics. You now see a lot of the young ones who would have gone to school with their colleagues who go to TESCON, they will go to TAY, and then by the time they see them, they come and they get into politics. They are given political positions. Then in a few years, they have built mansions. Some of them start work and they say they are looking for $1 million. The examples we are setting for these young ones are not right. And I was really pained when I saw that. I understand that some of the SRC executives now are asking to be paid sitting allowances when they have to go, do their work as SRC. And I'm saying, where's volunteering going to? Where is seeing this as an opportunity? And then I saw that they had constructed some shed, and they were saying that it had cost some 60 or something or 1,000 CDs. And so the corruption is starting all the way from that point. And so it is important that as we see all of this, we also do not become pessimistic. There are some of all of those happening, but generally you're beginning to see young men and women who are doing some interesting things, some of them global impact and all of that. So we should not be discouraged about some of the negativities that we see. Let's see how we can deal with that, but let's also try and show out the young ones who are doing great things.
Well, you're also very interested in ending illegal mining in this country, and all of us applauded the current president when he launched that massive campaign against Galamsey. Unfortunately, we haven't really seen much with that. I mean, where are we with the fight against Galamsey?
Well, with the fight against Galamsey, what has happened is that I see it as a war. We've won some battles in there, but we've lost some battles as well. And I think that the challenge with all of that has been failure of leadership. And that is leadership defined very broadly, from the political leadership to civil leadership to traditional leadership to everybody who had roles to play.
Yeah.
And I currently, where we are with the new minister, when he came, I was a bit encouraged that we're going to get something going on. And one of the things that he did that really I applauded was the fact that he was going to decentralize, the fights. But recently we've seen the Ankobra again, and we're seeing that Ankobra is going back worse. Tebidities. And so the president has an opportunity. Now that he's going to appoint DCs and MCs, to give to them as one of the critical KPIs. Because they are the district security committee chairpersons, they are the district mining committee chairpersons. They need to ensure that the right things are being done in those communities. So, how on earth, one of the challenges we've had with the current fight is the issues of the destruction of the excavators. Fine, even if we decide that because you found the excavator in the theater of a crime and you will not be able to take it out, they might come and use it again, and you destroy it. You need to be able to track who brought that excavator in there and be able to go after these people and make sure we punish them. One of the reasons why we've not won is that we have not been able to cut the fuel to this. And it is the very powerful, influential, and rich people. So failures like letting Aisha Wan go, all of those are the reasons why we are still where we are. So if we really want to win this war, we have to be very transparent about it. We have to be even-handed. So it does not matter whether the person is NDC, MPP, is Kenneth Ashigbey, is who. If you are found, you need to be punished. The hot stove principle should act in there. And we need to galvanize all of us, the citizenry, to be able to fight this. There are some communities where it is only a woman, a queen mother, galvanizing his people and deciding that Galamsey will not happen there, and it's not happening in there. So when you are a paramount chief, and a big chief such as that, we currently have very paramount big chiefs where close to their communities, there's Galamsey taking on there. I know that some of the chiefs will say it's because we've taken their power from them. But I say that if you are a chief like that, and that is happening, it is either you are incompetent and you're not able to lead your people, or you are complicit in it. So we need to get the local authorities part of it. Same applies to a DCE and MCE. We would want to say, yes, the president should be involved. But look at the president. The people who are there who ought to do the things need to be doing the things that they are doing. The professional bodies who also have to work, we need to do. We have laws in this country. We should just let the laws work.
As CEO of Telecommunications Chamber, what keeps you up at night?
Too many things. This industry is an industry that is moving at a very fast pace. You never know what is going to happen. So I go to sleep, you have your plans that you have done, but you might wake up the next day and then it would be this that might be coming from, the policy makers. It might be a new law that is coming up. It might be something coming from the operators. There's several things that keeps me awake. But the interesting thing is that I see the telecommunications sector, almost, and it's interesting that the Minister for Communication is now Minister for Communication and Digitization. I think that even telecommunication, it's changing. And, so it holds a lot of promise for this country. If you look at what the young people of today are doing, the fintechs, the jobs that they are creating, solutions that they are coming up with. And I think so the sector holds a lot of promise. But there are some challenges with it. But we need to also realize the fact that there is progress that's taking place. We could do better, if all of us come together. And there are things that we've done together as, with the Minister for Communication, with the NCA, with other regulators like the EPA, the Bank of Ghana, and we've been able to do great things when we work together. And so for us as the chamber and our members, it's about embracing collaboration with policymakers, with legislators, and customers are very important. One of the things that makes data very expensive in Ghana is that local content is very low. So that for you and I, maybe even I want to send you an email, that email might have to go to the international gateway. So it means we have to be paying money for the international gateways. If we had content which was here, like typically, if channel that multi-TV or content sits on, if that server was sitting in Ghana, so I wanted to watch content from multi-TV, I did not need to go up, so that the cost that the telecom operators will be paying would all be the local charges. The cost will be coming down. So we need to involve customers in it. We need to ensure that digital literacy is really taking up, so that we can use that, in all the things we want to do. 5G is going to come. Big data is here, artificial intelligence is here. How do we use that? The time is coming where, now, a doctor will be sitting in Kolebu, will be able to do surgery back in Chama, my town. Yeah. All of that is going to come from this technology. We need to embrace it. We need to make sure that those who have a phobia for it rather have a liking for it, and we make sure that it's ingrained in the things we do. And critically, it's important that from nursery, we need, and COVID has really exposed that when it comes to education and technology. So we all need to work together, our sector working together with various sectors, working with academia to see how we ensure that the very last mile we are able to send technology into those places, and so that we'll be able to see the change. I am an optimist. I think using technology, Ghana will be able to make the change, but it requires a lot of changes from you and I to be able to make that happen.
Dr. Ashigbey, you are such a motivation to us. I mean, you never get tired wanting this country to get better. Your family must be very proud of you. Which of your kids are towing your line?
Well, I'm not too sure whether it's Bubune, it's Edem, or it's Nuna. I don't know. I think they are coming up. I hope they'll all find. Definitely one of the things I see is that they'll definitely be better than their father or their mother.
Okay.
They need to definitely do better. They need to impact globally, and that's what I am hoping that we would be able to achieve with all of them.
And we hope that they turn out what you want them to be. But what relaxes you after all said and done? The energy after being a good day. What do you do to relax?
Interestingly, what do? I try very hard these days to exercise in the mornings. In the past, I used to
playing tennis.
I've stopped. I don't play.
Okay.
Even table tennis, which I am vice president for, I don't get time to play that. So it's the walk. And in the past, I was walking, but during the Galamsey time, I had a few scares here and there. So I decided that I'll do it in the house.
Okay.
I like music as well. I used to love to dance, dance alone.
Okay, you do a little dance for me. Which genre of music do you love to listen?
I love to listen to jazz. I love to listen to high life. Okay. I love to listen to hip life. I listen to a lot of agbaja, local rhythms as well. So I listen to everything, and I love gospel as well.
Do you have a favorite?
Favorites? When I was back in Senegal, they used to call me Rob Bass.
Okay.
Because I love
what
to
does
rap.
That mean?
Rob Bass was, Rob Bass is an easy rock.
He has to rap for me too.
No. Okay. So those were those days, So what kind of music do I like? The things about me is that the music will come, one will come and I'll say, I'll do it, then it will leave and it would go.
Okay.
So me, I don't
know. So if you come to like hip life.
Hip life.
Okay, or
hip
high
life,
life.
Which is the new, which is the
latest.
The latest hip life. Hey, Minkayo. Majesty, I know was one of the things I used to do.
Majesty, I know.
Yeah, but no. You see, I'm a 90s person too as well. Okay. So from Reggie to Bookback and all of that,
Now we have the Shatsawales, the Pofikinats.
I'm a Stone Boy kind of guy.
Okay.
I'm a Stone. So I like the Stone Boy, the ever ones.
Okay. Which one do you prefer?
Stone Boy.
You do that
the one. Okay. So there was. The one that was almost like tongues.
Is it Putu?
Putu?
What was it? What language was it?
No. So that one, it's like tongues. It was. Yes. No, I can't sing it. I'll dance.
Then you have to dance for me. Come on.
Hey. I can dance.
Let's do it. Hey, come on. Are you taking that?
I love to dance.
Really?
Yes, so now you find me dance a lot more in church.
Okay.
Because, COVID and all of that, you can't go to the nightclubs again.
But you do it sometimes at home.
So I dance at home. I can dance alone, So when I was in,
but the skills.
Dance. And my daughter dances very well.
Okay. So she's been coaching you.
Oh well, I see. I watch. I watch and I see. The thing I think one of the things about me is that as I see people dance, I just look at them and I'm able to pick it up.
You're a fast grabber.
That one. So once I see people dance, I pick it up. I think dancing is one of the things that relaxes me. So yeah.
It's been wonderful talking to you.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for allowing us into your life, and we appreciate you a lot. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. My beautiful dress was made by Needle Thread Designs. Call them on 0543196451 or visit their showroom at 34 West Loop, Tesano. Another exciting edition of PM Personality Profile awaits you same time next week, God willing. Do enjoy the rest of our programs.
Hello, my name is Evans Mensah, and you can relive all the fun and excitement on Top Story, Newsnight, and of course, Ghana Connect via podcast. All you need to do is to log on to my Joy Online/podcast. Search for your favorite show and relive the moment. Joy 99.7 FM, your radio for discerning listeners. Joy 99.7.
Up close on Reason is Jesus. My name is P.P. Fulton, the Christocentric.